Over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. This is very interesting summit and training sessions. It's wonderful. I see from the topics, it's something really great. I'm really happy to be today with you in this finance and operation. I love Dynamics 5 and I love to see a lot of people today from all over the world. Today, my session is easy as a topic, but we will going to discuss several things, something additional that you might not find easy to in your easy learning. This is why you will enjoy, hopefully, the training. I'm just in beginning. I'm Mohamad Barada. I'm from Lebanon. I'm a Lebanese and proud of this. I have 20 years of experience in Dynamics since I started working in Nav and later on EX and 4.0 and now 365. The Dynamics 365 is a very big part of my life. I'm a senior ERP and CRM trainer and consultant. I'm very, very happy to be today with you. I'm not gonna take more time. The agenda today, I'm gonna discuss how to close the year in Dynamics 365. It is something as a subject, it's a little bit scary for some users, but if you see on Dynamics 365, it's something really easy. It's not something that needs complex process, because we will discuss this. You will see what is the things that need to be done to close the year. So I'm going to give you quick and important tips about year closing. I'm going to show you how to prepare to run the year end close and how we execute the use of the year-end close and the use of the year-end close template, how we run the year-end close process, and if we need to reverse. So these are the things that I'm going to cover today. I'm going to try to make it happen in 50 minutes, so you have like 5-10 minutes or at the end for a quick ask questions. You can always put on the chat. I will make sure that to answer all your questions for sure. This is a promise. So then let's start with the important tips. So what is, for the people that they are new or they are not familiar with the end of year, at the end of a fiscal year, it's not a fiscal period. Okay, it's a fiscal year. So this is why the difference. I don't know if you were you didn't see this from the subject. It's a fiscal year, not a fiscal period. The difference between fiscal year and fiscal period. Usually, the fiscal year, it's a complete year. Depends how the company define this year. So it could be from January till December, the regular year. It could be also different for different companies. They might start from April till the March. So it depends how do you. So the fiscal year is the end of the fiscal year. Once the 12 period, or if they have less or more, they are finished, you must run the year-end close process to transfer the opening balance to new year. So in finance and accounting, if you don't do that, if you don't close the year, there is no something called opening entries. You heard about this opening entries. We talk about it. So if you don't close the year, you don't have opening entries. The transactions will continue moving. You can always start and put post entries on any date, but you will not have these accounting transactions that everybody needs to have a proper financial statements. So this is what it's called end of fiscal year. It's where you need to run, and the Dynamics 5, it's where you run the year-end close process to transfer the opening balance to the new. Most organizations will run the year-end close process multiple of times because there always be changes. So you don't have any problem with Dynamics 5, and this is the beauty about it. You can run the year-end close a couple of times. You can also select if you would like to delete the entries created and create the new one as if you are doing the closing once. This is something that you can do. So, but what the purpose of the year-end close is the first run, it moves the balances into the new fiscal year. So when you first run the year-end close, if you would like to close transactions, it will remove the balance or make zero the accounting that they are in income statement, if they know that. So the first run, it moves the balances into the new fiscal year. The process can then be run as many times as required to move balances from adjusting entries in the new fiscal year. This is you can always move only the adjusted. Why there will be adjustment and usually after closing? Because there is a lot of companies, there is auditors that they came after you close the year and they will work. This is why there is minor companies that they are able to close the year a few days after the end of year. It needs some work. It needs a little bit of auditing and some entries that came from banks, from several parties that they need to be entered later on. So During the year-end close process, there are two types of possible transactions created. There is an opening transaction, so there is an opening for the new fiscal year, and this is why it's very important to have the new year. It's open, it's created. Okay, so when the opening transaction is always generated, it's always, and is used to create the opening balances in the new fiscal year. So this is the purpose of it. At any time, if you'd like to run your financial statement, you will have this in the opening. So the opening transaction shows the balance sheet, ledger account balances in the new fiscal year, and balances from the profit and loss ledger account balances in the retained earnings ledger account in the new fiscal year. So what is the revenue of the year that was done? It will be moved to the retained earning account. The closing transactions, these are optional, and they are created to bring the balances of the profit and loss accounts down to zero. As you know, the profit and loss accounts are always must be reset in the beginning. This is why you have always trial balance is from a period to period. The profit and loss are at the end of the fiscal year. They are reset to zero, and it will start from the new fiscal year zero. So only the other accounts will be moved to the opening. So this is why the closing transactions are the transactions that close these profit and loss. This is why it's very, very important that you know that you set properly the account type before you run your first time the close of the year, because if there is no, if the type of the account is not profit and loss, you will lose this validation, and the system will not set zero this balance. Make sure to, I will talk about these things. Latest enhancement, and this is why I choose this topic today. There was some enhancement on this in Dynamics 365. It's called General Ledger Year End Enhancement. It's under the module General Ledger, feature name, General Ledger Year End Enhancement. So where can you find this? So before we talk about, if you go to Dynamics 365, I'm gonna make it because I want to show you this on the machine itself. You have under the feature management is something that I really, this is last year also, I always talk about this, the feature management, because this is where you always, this error, because I kept the virtual machine for a couple of time without update. So let me just be back here to join, and I'm just reset until I have the machine refresh the credentials. So this in any enhancement that are usually done on the system, they are available under the feature management. This feature management, this is where you will see the latest update done. So there is a general ledger end of year update enhancement done, where it make it very easy, and the system is doing it in a proper way, and at the level of removing the things that related to closing or reversing. It's get more easy. If you go here to all feature management, in order to make sure that you have this general, this feature enabled, so you just make sure that the feature name is General Ledger Year End Enhancement. So I will put here General Ledger Year and click enter. You see there is General Ledger Year End Enhancement. It was enabled on my virtual machine. Enabled it, it was the 18th of November 2021. So if you have this, it was added in the April of the 29th of April. The details of this enhancement are available here, so you can all time check if you have this enabled. But what made easy the setup of the year-end closing template has moved to a new setup page. So there is a new setup page for the template, and for the year-end close setup template. This is something that you see here. There is explanation of all the things that was included in this enhancement. So make sure that you enable. If you didn't enable this, you can always select it and enable what you have in front of you. So this is the first part. I'm talking about this because there was an enhancement done. It is a simple process yet, but the entries that are created are critical enough that you need to feel that the system is really advanced on this. So this is the first what I wanted to show you as a tips, what is the year-end closing and why we are covering this topic today, and get benefits of these features of the new enhancement at the level of the template setup, and the reverse year-end close were added also, so you can select this to undo also the entries. These are things that were added in the enhancement of the year-end close. The steps that are involved when you do the year-end close are you have to prepare first. So you need to prepare your financial year to be closed. So this will include several steps that I'm going to discuss today with you. And these are the things that are most important, because you will see that running the year-end close, it's something very easy and quite quick to do in the system. You have what we call the templates. These templates we can define or use a template already there, and this is something that was part of the enhancement. And we have then the run, how we run the year-end close process, and the reverse year-end close is there. It's needed. It's if needed, you can run it. It's not something required. It's only unless you have something problem, you can always reverse. And this reverse, the beauty about it, it will remove all the year-end close as if was error, as if it was not there at all. This is the purpose of the things here. So now, how we can prepare the year-end close. This is something that is really needed. I know that there is several manual activities that usually the people of finance and accounting that are very busy at the end of the year to check the depreciation of fixed assets are correctly, if there is any provisions to be created, if there is bank interest to be considered, if there is any doubtful amounts for customers to be collected and doubtful amount to your vendor to be paid. These are things that you have to do at the end of the year. Anything that is still in the gray area or not complete or closed or pending has to be studied and has to be processed before the end of the year. This is something that I'm not going, this is not part of my subject today, but because this is pure accounting and finance wise, what these are available in the system, and it's another subject. But what I'm going to talk about this today, what you have to do before you run the year-end close process. And these things has to be done, and at least especially in the first year-end close, because the main account page, for example, you will not add much of account every year. So we will have the first topic, complex work to do is the first year, because you will have to double check all the main accounts. So for the main accounts, you need to verify that the main account type field is correctly set for each main account, because the main account type determines whether the balance of the main account will be brought forward as an opening balance or close into retained earning in the opening transaction. This is very important. Either you move it as balance, or it will goes, the balance of all these other accounts that are profit and loss will be, if you have profit, it goes to retained earning profit. If there is loss, it goes to loss. So the main account type is something very important that you need to double check every time you do the year-end closing, because of this opening. And then in the first year, you have a lot of main account that you need to validate. After that, every year you have just to check this main account. And you know better, this is easy. It's not in a top 4, but it can be done. The balance of the main account can be transferred to a new account during the year-end close. And this is also very important timing. If you would like to retire or block or stop an account, you can always remove this account, the balance of this account, and move it to the new balance, the new account, main account. That only on the, not for the profit and loss, because the profit and loss will be set to 0. So there is no balance. For the balance sheet, what's our assets and liabilities and equities, these accounts, they have balance. So if you would like to move them to another account, there is on the main account card, you have what we call opening account field, the opening account field. If you would like also, whoever would like this presentation, and I put a lot of details inside it, just you can always check and communicate with me, and I will share it with you. So the opening account is on the main account field. There is opening account field. If you fill this and the close or year-end close process, this balance, it goes to this opening account field. Typically, this field is used for balance sheet main accounts, because as you mentioned, the other accounts, they will not be brought forward from year to year. So these are the first things that you need to validate on the level of the main account page. Okay, then of the general ledger parameters page under the fiscal year close. In the general ledger parameters, there is a fiscal year close in the general tabs. Okay, do you have several fields that you have to set, and these are very important, guys. This is why I would like to spend a little bit time here to explain these fields that are available on the general ledger parameters. I'm going to show you also where it's going to be there, but you have to understand the impact of each one of them because you decide about that. First, the delete existing year entries when reclosing the year. So the delete existing year and entries when reclosing the year. This option is very important. It's available in general ledger parameters. It allows you to, it's used to specify whether the system generated opening transaction from a previous year end close should be deleted when the year end close is rerun. So if you would like to delete this opening that you have created when you do the rerun, you have to set this as yes. Otherwise, if this option is set to yes, so the previous opening and optional closing entries are deleted if it is set to yes. If it is set to no, the previous opening and optional closing are not deleted. What is the difference or the amendments that are done will be generated in that case in this closing. Okay, so this is the difference. So delete existing year end entries when reclosing the year option, it has to be set yes. Where it is available, just in order before I continue, but in case you would like to just understand what I'm talking about, it's under the setup, the general ledger parameters. Okay, you have this in the general tab, the first one, you have the fiscal year closing. It's a sub tab. It's available there. You see here that under ledger fiscal year close, if you expand this, you see that delete existing year and entries. If you don't remember what is the meaning of this, you can always mouse over thanks to Dynamics team. I love this feature because whenever you have any complex field, if you mouse over to the caption, you see this information. So it will give you that the purpose here. If you set this yes, the opening and closing optional transaction will be deleted before you create them. These are the other fields that I'm going to also discuss in my presentation, but are all available under this. Then we have the create closing transactions during transfer option. This is why we said this is optional. So this option is used to create closing transactions in the fiscal year that is being closed. So it will create closing transaction in the fiscal year that is closed. Okay, so to bring the balances of all main accounts to zero, only the balances that are supposed to be set to zero. This option is set to yes, both the opening transaction and closing transactions are created. If it is set to no, only the opening transaction is created in the new fiscal year. The main account balance remain at the end of the fiscal year. So this is important based on the policy of the country where the company is applying this dynamics. Based on the company policies, if you would like to close all the accounts at the end of the fiscal year, the profit and loss or income statement accounts, you can always use this create closing transaction during transfer. Okay, so it will show you transactions for the closing. The third one, set the fiscal year status to permanently closed. This is important and risky. Be careful. This option is used to set the fiscal year as to permanently closed status, but be careful because once this period or the year is set to permanently closed, you cannot reopen it again. So therefore, adjustment can't be posted to the fiscal year. What you have to do, it's not the end of the life. You can always do amendment at the beginning of the year, but your fiscal year, once it is set to permanently closed, you cannot reopen it. Okay, so please be careful about that. This is why it's set also optional. And the system, be careful. If you set this as yes, you want to set the fiscal year to permanently close, it will not allow you to close a year if the previous or any period within the year are not closed. So it will check because once you close this fiscal year, you cannot do anything on so the first condition is that you have the previous period that and the period inside this fiscal year are also closed, set to closed, permanently closed, and all the previous year you cannot close a new fiscal year while the others are not permanently closed. So if you run this, you will see that if you run this fiscal year closed and you set this as yes in the parameters, and you have previous year not permanently closed, system will give you an error message. So this is something that I'm telling you that because you will face it. Okay, the fourth validation that you need to do in the general ledger parameters before you prepare or before you run your year-end close is the voucher number must be filled in. Now it's not to be validated anymore. It was before, and the new enhancement after you apply the feature management and you apply the new features, the voucher number will be filled when you run the year-end close. So don't have to worry about this. It's not automated. It's not something that you put the voucher number, because usually the closing year the documents must be very defined by the people that they are closing, the accountant or finance people. So there is no more voucher number to be filled in the general ledger parameters. You will not see it, but you will be asked, you will be prompted to fill this when you run the year-end close on the system. Okay, so this is an important thing that I'm covering. I hope that you find it fruitful. Then the third validation is the fiscal calendar page. You have to be careful for sure. You cannot close or run the year and close if the next fiscal year does not exist. So you need to make sure that the next fiscal year must exist before the year end close is run. So you know that you have something that is, I might also consider this as subject in the next sessions, maybe in the future. Also talk about the period, the fiscal period closing. There is a workspace, you can set template. You can create template for the end of year also close. You can create the fiscal, this is the fiscal period at the end, the year end is the complete one. So you need to set your own checklist, that's things that you have to double check or to make sure to validate before you do your end close. And one of them is the fiscal calendar. So you need to make sure that you put in the checklist, you need to create the new fiscal calendar, because usually some companies, they don't create this fiscal calendar before they process the year end close, in order not to allow users to post in these dates in the future. So and avoid this problem. So you need this before you run the year end close. You need the next fiscal year exist. Otherwise, the beginning balance can be created in the opening period. So there will be the process of the year-end close will not be complete. There will not be it will not be stopped, but it will be incomplete, the year-end close. Be careful about that. And the ledger calendar page. Okay, also this is the fourth validation that you need to do, also a part of the preparation for year-end close. So it's an optional. Each fiscal period for the fiscal year that is being closed can be set to on hold to prevent new transactions from being entered. This is the fiscal period. Okay, for the fiscal year that is being closed must be set on hold to prevent new transactions from being entered. So you're not supposed to have any entries after you close the fiscal year. It is the system part, since it is not permanently closed, you can always do, and this is why we set here on hold. We don't set permanently closed. If we set a period, fiscal period, to permanently closed, we cannot change it. But what happened usually, there is a fiscal period of this year are all set on hold if you don't do it on a monthly basis, because some companies, they do that on a monthly basis. They put this fiscal period on hold. If you do it at the end of the year, you set them all on hold. You start doing your financial entries, checking, statement, report, consolidation, customer statement, your vendor sent banking. You make sure that everything, and you will see that, oh, I need to add this transaction in December. So you add this correction. You need to apply this change here, to correct this here, description this here. So you reopen this, the fiscal period, you do the change, and you set it on hold. At the end, when adjusting are identified, the on-hold period can be reopened so that adjusting entries can be posted even if the year close process had already been run. As I told you, if you don't set it permanently closed, so if you run the year-end close and you would like to add more entries adjustment, you can always add it because the period are on hold. So my suggestion for you, all your fiscal period, you put it on hold. you start preparing your year-end close, or at least the last month, because you might not go and add entries in January. Okay, so be careful about that. It depends on your policy. There is no best practices, but there is rules that you can follow. You can set it and you apply it yourself every year. This is why the first year you have to consider all this. Then you have to apply the same. You can set them on the document, put all your rules, how you would like to do every year, so you can make sure that you apply the same. The year-end close template setup, it is the fifth and the last things that you need to consider when you prepare the year-end close. So you need, when the general ledger year-end enhancement feature is turned on, because as I told you, you have to turn on to get profit of all these features. The process of setting up the year-end close template is separated from the process of running year-end close. So you have template which is available. You can create template from the year-end close template outside the run. It was before, it was part of the screen. Now you find year-end close template setup as part of the setup of general ledger. So you find it aside. So the template can be defined on the year-end close template setup page. Okay, or it can be accessed from the end close process if you didn't do it yet. So now you have this features. You can do it before the year-end close template setup. I'm gonna show you what it's the template setup. This is the beauty that are also something that I'm gonna discuss with you today. And so you can run it either on the general ledger year-end close. So it's available now. If you go to general ledger, okay, I always try to show immediately because it's better to see it in front of you. So year-end close ledger setup is available now outside this process of year-end close. Okay, so you can create your template before. You cannot do closing before having template. This is something that is important. So you need to have a template to run a year-end close based on this template, because it will help you to set certain validations. So this year-end close template setup, you can do it as part of the preparation, or you can keep it till last minute when you would like to do the year-end close, but it's not something recommended. So now that we saw all these preparation that you would like to do, these are, I didn't show it on the system because these are things easy to be done. So in the parameter general ledger, I showed you where the main accounts, you are supposed to know where you have to look at. So the fiscal calendar, it has to be created. This is something important. So now you have the preparation done. Again, I told you, you have your own internal validation and end year activities. You have to do it. This doesn't have related to my subject today. I'm talking about how to close the year in Dynamics 365. Now we have to execute the year end close. So how we do that? So after the system is configured, the year end close process can be run. So you have the configuration done. You have what configured, the needed, the minimum. It's especially when it is the first time. And I always tell all my customers and partners that we work with that the system cannot be considered as completely done if you don't close at least 1 year. So you need to have all this period close and close 1 year. So you make sure that you have tested everything and the full implementation is done. This is why implementation of PNRP usually it needs at least 1 year as validation. This is my opinion. It can finish in three months as you go live, but you need to have this validation of 1 year to close the year. The year-end close can be run on the year-end close template setup page. A template can be defined for the group of legal entities, and this is something very important that the year-end close process will be run for. So the template will be used to define what are the legal entities to be included. You can include one legal entity can be included in one template. You cannot include, because in order to avoid these problems, so you cannot select this legal entity in template. And the template will be reused at each year-end close. So the enhancement done is to facilitate the process for the next year, but it can be modified if your organization changed. So here, this part of the template is something that you need to do. You created once, and once you created, you can use it all next year. I'm going to show you now on the screen before I give you more details and the template. So as I mentioned, that this general ledger and the setup, you have year and close template setup. You can do this here, or also you can, in the period close, if you go the day of when you do the year and close, you have also the setup, year and close setup link from here. So you can either go from that setup or here. So you see there is here 3 setup already available. In every setup company, there is a group name. So the group name is the group field of the template here. You selected to consider like a grouping. So it should identify the group of legal entities. You see here, this is US companies, there is German companies, consolidation companies. So this group name must like reflect, identify the group of legal entities that is included. So when you are determining the group of legal entities, remember that legal entities can be included in the same group only if the same fiscal calendar is selected from them. So you cannot select different legal entities which has not the same fiscal calendar. This is not logic, right? So you need to make sure that you select, when you select here in the group legal entities, you need to have this fiscal calendar same as that. So the template can be set up on geographically or geography. So you can put a location, and separate group can be created for North American legal entities, for example, or Europe or Middle East and Africa or Pacific. Next, there is the legal entities. Here you can add legal entity, and you will see that once you add some legal entity here, it will not be seen anymore. So USMF is already added, so you cannot add it again. So you can add here only pending. You can add the legal entity, or you can see it also from organization hierarchy. And this is, if you know the Dynamics 5, the organization hierarchy purpose is that purpose is to accelerate things when you are entering data. So here, let's see, you can add legal entities. So in the template, you will consider this legal entity that is going to be closed together, or it can be closed using this template. So legal entity can be added by selecting an organization hierarchy, or by selecting legal entity directly. If an organization hierarchy is selected, so if you select here organization hierarchy, okay, there will be, for sure, you can select which organization hierarchy you would like to see. Okay, so only the legal entity within this organization hierarchy that use the selected fiscal calendar will be also practical or possibly added. Okay, so if you put here Contosto, for example, so if you see, okay, so only the legal entity that are part of this and have the same fiscal calendar can be added. Okay, you see, I added them all. So this is because they are not added, and they are part of this organization chart, and they can be, and they have same fiscal calendar. Okay, so you can do it in, you can add one by one the legal entity, or you can select different from the organization chart. After the legal entities are added, you have to define the retained earning. This is important. As we mentioned, that the most of the accounts that which are not profit and loss, the liabilities and assets that have balances can be moved to next year. They will be moved from close the opening transaction. So if you have, for example, the account receivables, if you have money that you due to be collected from customers, this balance, it will goes, the end balance of this account receivable, it will goes to the opening in the next year. So you know at the beginning of the year that you have this opening, but the sales and the purchase, which are profit and loss accounts, this will goes to the balance of them, all plus with all minus. There will be plus or minus. You will have either profit, so you have plus or minus. This will goes to retained earning. You can put them all in one or different. It depends. You can use different retained earning by legal entity. It depends, because there are some countries, they have different accounts. Okay, so this is the purpose. And this is the beauty, that you can do this preparation of template in one place, but you can select legal entity and their account from here. So you see here the account of this legal entity. Okay, the last tab here, which is also important and something that if you want to transfer, it's the financial dimension. If you want to transfer balance sheet dimensions, okay, so this is here the financial dimensions. It's important. This financial is used to define which financial dimension will be used on the opening transaction. So note that the setup on this tab applies only to the legal entity that is selected in the legal entity. So when you select here, this, you see it is refreshed So the one that you are selecting here is with the one that will be considered in this changes. Okay, so you have to select and to set the criteria here. So you can select what are the transfer profit and loss dimensions, and you can select what are the dimensions that you would like to move when you are doing this opening transaction. So the transfer balance sheet dimension option is used to specify whether the financial dimensions on transactions that are posted to balance sheet accounts, the balance sheet accounts have opening, should be maintained on the opening transaction or not. That's why it is very clear here that it's balance sheet dimensions. So the balance sheet, they will check only for the account that they have account type balance sheet. This is clear, right? Okay, so if you would like this to transfer dimension, as for profit and loss, you can select which one that are transfer dimensions when you do the closing for sure. So you have which one you would like to consider in the dimension when you close during the run of process. Okay, so yeah, the best practice is that the options here of the balance sheet set to yes. It's important because it's always good to have your dimensions also move to the opening. As for the transfer profit and loss section is used to specify, again, which dimensions on the transactions that are posted to profit and loss account will be transferred to the retained earning main accounts. Okay, so which are the dimensions that will be transferred to the retained earnings main account. So first you can identify the financial dimensions that are relatively or related to your legal entity, and also you can always consider define each dimension, the closed, single, or closed. You can select if you'd like to close. You have different options for each dimension. If you would like to have close single or close all. The default usually is close all. This option maintains the original financial dimension values from posted transaction and use them to create the opening balance for the retained earning account. So separate retained earning beginning balance will be created for each unique combination of financial dimension value. This is the purpose. So based on if you would like to have dimension for profit and loss, for every the combination, it will for your dimensions, you will have this retained earning value and the closing, okay, and move to the opening. This is the purpose of this one, the transfer and the closing. So now we saw that we have to create this template. So the template, as you see, it's very easy. You set the legal entities, you define the dimensions. If it is to be moved for balance sheet, you cannot specify, either you move them all or not, and it's preferred to be yes. And you select for profit and loss, so how you would like to get the calculation of retained earning, if it is by dimension, which dimension, okay. And if you set single, it will create for each value a line. So this is the difference between the all and single. So and when you select single, you can select also a value here, which is you can for a specific purpose. So the single, you can select only I would like to move for this one of these dimension, or you can select all. These are the purpose of having single and all here, close all. Okay, so once you finish the template, I think you are ready to process to run your year-end close. So we are good in time. I'm gonna show you now how. So you did the template. You made sure of all your validations are made, and you created a template. Now you have to go to year-end close. It is a big topic at the end, but it is something very easy in the system because you are supposed to have everything related. So at the general ledger, there is a period close. It's not the period close, a year end, it's a year end close. It's under the period close. We don't use the fiscal period or financial period close. We use the year end close. So here you have the screen. It shows you the template that you have because you have to run the fiscal period based on template. Okay, so after you finish this, this is why you need to create a template. Otherwise, you cannot you cannot run the year end. Okay, so now when you select the companies that you have, okay, so you select first what are here. It will show you the name of the group that the year-end close, if there is any for US company, is there is no yet any entries done. Okay, so what I will do now, I will run the year-end close for the USMF. Okay, so I need just to check that what are the latest values, transactions that is available under the year-end close here. So just I would like to see this, so I can close, let's say 2019. So just to make sure, because I would like to show it to you how I do usually do. So here I can always set the nearest to oldest date to see that I have 2009, I have 2020. So I have 2020. I can close this 2020 also. So let's see, since I didn't set that you need to set that permanently close, you will be able to close a period even if the previous are not finished. So let's say I will go to here, the US company. I click on run year-end close. You see it will show me all the UK entry. I can select them all or select one of them. So I will select USMF. So I click OK. So here I'm closing for USMF only because I selected one. So I can select here the year that I would like to close. I said that I can close 2020. Okay, so here the voucher, I set close. I will put USMF end of year close, EOIC USMF and 2020, right? I will put one, because if I would like to run several, it's good to put myself. This is what I usually try to do myself, to set like numbering. So here, when you click OK, it will run. It will show you that it is run in background. You can set this. You can do it recurrent, also recurrent, or set a specific date. You can, from now, you set it at the end of December, and you can click OK. So if there is nothing that is against, the batch will run. So the run fiscal close job is added to the batch queue. Where it will be showed. I'm gonna show. I like usually to show everything. Even in batch job, you will see that you will have the batch here and the job description. So I will put here it's run fiscal. Start by run fiscal. You see here I have executing the 747 it's running now. So I need to make sure that this is ended. So usually it run in batch to, as my colleague said also in the previous training, that when you have it run in batch is something that it's good for parallelism. It works in several running at the same time. It's better for performance. So it's help in several things. So here 2020 for USMF is closing. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and open the year-end close and general ledger, and there will be a record there waiting for me. And the closing, okay, the key period close and the fiscal company, you see I have, because it was done, finished. If I was there from the beginning, it will not be showed unless the process has been done. So here, whenever you go back, you can see that this fiscal year was closed. It was closed. When was this, the process date time? What was the ledger entry, the fiscal year, and what is the voucher? It's simple, guys. It's simple. So when you go to voucher, the system will show you that there are retain, earning, and finished good. Okay, and what are the transaction done? So this is the transactions that they were created for and this is the voucher that I have created also myself. So you see here the voucher number. So as I told you, the voucher, it will be prompt when you will be creating this year-end close. Okay, so as simple as that. You run the fiscal year, you select which, even if I select again the USMF, okay, so you can always, if you select, because this I told you, you can run again many times the same. I can close 2020 and I can put also EYC-USMF, but there will be nothing created. This is why, because there is no changes done. Okay, so when you run this, so even if we refresh after 5 minutes, there will be no record. So even if there is anything here, you can always you see what are the things already created. If you would like to reverse, we will see this in the next topic, but this is what you do when you go to closing. So you select the year-end close template, you run the year-end close, and voila, it's as easy as that. You can rerun the year-end close. You can do that one or multiple records for each combination of legal entity and fiscal year depending on settings. So here, you will see the combination of ledger and fiscal. So if you selected 4, you will have 4 lines. So based on the ledger and fiscal year, you will have this combination. And if you put delete existing year entity when reclosing, okay, so it will remove. You will have only one record. Okay, so this I'm gonna explain the next slide what is the difference. So if delete existing year entries when reclosing the year is set to yes, if you set on a yes, I would like to delete. So the voucher for the previous year and close is deleted. The voucher that were created, I showed you, will be deleted. The record is marked as reversed and stamped with date time when the reversal was done, the record of the closing. Additionally, the link to the voucher number is removed. So here, this is removed and it will be showed that it is reversed. And additionally, when the year close is completed, a new record will be created for the new voucher that is created. So, and there will be a new line for this voucher. Okay, this had it happen if delete existing year entries are set to yes. So it will be deleted, the voucher removed, it will be shown that it was reversed, and you can see a new voucher line created. Okay, so this, in my case here, because there is no delete, it didn't do anything here. Okay, because on the general ledger setup, okay, on the ledger parameters, okay, I have delete. Okay, I set also delete, but there is no transactions to be, no amendment. So this is why I didn't delete it. This is the only purpose. But if there is here something that is purpose that related to it that will create a new voucher, the one will be deleted and the new voucher. But since there is no changes, it's not that done. If the delete existing year and entries when they close is set to no, the record of the previous year end close remains together with the link to the voucher. And each time that the year end close is rerun, a new record will be created together with a link to the new voucher. So only the new voucher will be created, and only the amendment that are done will be created, and there will be a line with link to the new voucher created. Okay, so that's it. That's the easy part. If you have yes, there will be the one will be remove the voucher and the new one all generated again. If it's set to no, the entry will kept the voucher and the new voucher will be created for the difference only. The last step for still have 10 minutes. I will finish on time. The reverse the year. You can reverse the process. It deletes all opening and closing voucher that were created from the fiscal year. The record is marked as reversed and stamped with the date time when the reverse was done. Additionally, the link to the voucher number is removed like the year-end close process. So it's easy. You can just select the entry and reverse year-end close. So the system will show you. You can click on OK. So it will run in the batch. So if you have this fiscal year created, you can reverse it. And I see here, it's show reverse because I didn't check show reversed. Now, if I see reverse, you see, it showed me the one that I have created because the deleted, and while I was explaining to you, it deleted the transaction because I have selected. And this one of the second one is the reverse. It's 447, second one. This is why there is 2 reverse entry. Okay, so because I have checked the delete, even if there is no change, it removed them all in order to give you the proper I was surprised when I saw that. So I saw that the enhancement, they changed it. No, even if there is no changes, it delete them. It reverse. This is the one that was done, and it create a new entries. Now, because I reversed this close, it was reversed, and there is no more entries here. This is the purpose of reverse. If you have any problems or things that you would like to you'd like to remove the vouchers, so you see here in the reverse part, okay, there is no more voucher done. This is why, because the delete all opening and closing vouchers, delete them, and it marked the record as reversed here. Okay, so it's reversed and it removed the voucher number. So this is what I think it's ideally, I did it in 50 minutes, as I told you. The year-end close, there is important links that I added to the presentation in case you can always take a shot, or if anybody would like to get the presentation, you can just send me a message and I will be glad to, for sure, support you and give you this presentation. I did it for this especially for this event. So it is your right to ask for it. So you can, I have the year-end close, the close fiscal year, and there is year-end activities, frequent question you can always refer to and check what are the questions that were you would like to you have, and you can check if there is any answer for that. This is also important, the URL that you can get use of it if you would like to check. Now I'm available for your question, guys. Sorry, I will stop sharing. There is a problem. No one can. They are not public. Okay, guys. There is any question for me?
Thank you very much, Mohammed. Wow, that was a whirlwind tour. Very well presented, I have to say. Thank you so much. There's lots of great comments here. There is a question by Bilal who's asking, what will be wrong if company did not run the year-end closing for many years? How does the end year close procedure change if the company did not perform the end year closing for many years before?
If they did not, this is a question, important question, because there is a lot of companies that do not do that. They don't know how to do that, and they are afraid. If you don't close the year, you will not have opening entries. In accounting, the opening entries are official entries that you will find them, and there is a voucher, there is a number. So when you run your statement, the system will calculate the balance from the first day start the system until today. It will be very slow, the reporting. It will affect the reporting performance, because when you have an opening entries, the system will take the balance of all previous year from the opening. So it will be faster. So this is it will have the impact on the performance, and there will be no opening transactions, which is needed for an international financial standards. There is a lot of countries, they need to see the voucher of opening entries, but impact on the value, it will not have impact on the value, okay, a value of the accounts or balances, the value of debit credit, but the system will have performance complete to add all the transaction before.
Thank you. Stefan is asking, what is interest to use a 13 period?
This is when you create a new fiscal period, they have usually open period and the close period. I don't know if you are asking about the 13 period, this one, the closing, because the purpose of it, because the closing a period is usually a process. The fiscal period is a process. This is why there is 12 period. The 13th, the last one, is for the year period. So usually the closing the year, they consider it as a period. So when you close it, the system makes sure that all the previous period are closed, and you cannot touch anything within the period. If you don't have the 13 period, how the system will know? You close the period already, so the year, how they close the year, so they add this 13 period to facilitate the process from, if you say, from the business and technical also. So they have the 13, this one, once you close the year, it will close the 13 period, and you cannot do anything on the period, all the year, all the previous period related, if you have permanently closed.
Great. There's a question, difference between fiscal calendar and ledger calendar. What should we select while closing?
When you in the closing, there is no, there is a fiscal here, this if you have this, you select fiscal calendar. But when you have the closing, okay, you cannot, these are the calendar that you have already created in the system. So if you have created here fiscal, you don't have legal calendar, legal year. So you have to create select fiscal clear year. You cannot close a ledger year or ledger calendar. But I had, as part of the validation, there was things that you have to consider on the ledger calendar, but you will be using the fiscal calendar when you are closing the year end.
Okay, so Justine is asking why, after finish the year-end closing operation, retained earnings account has a zero balance in closed year.
You have it is zero if if you did there is something wrong with the closing process, because usually the return earning, how it is calculated, it will take all the accounts that are have type profit and loss. Okay, and we'll take all the profit, all the plus, let's say what are called debit and minus what you have credit, and what the balance of all these accounts that are part of the profit and loss will give you, either you have profit or loss. This is why it's called profit and loss or income statement. So it's about income. So you have either income or not. So the difference, it goes to the retained earning when they close the year. If you don't close the year, you need to do it manually. You have to do it manually. You do this entry. This is why they close the year. Also, the return earning, it cannot be calculated automatically. It calculate upon closing the year. This is where we have to clear. So if they have it zero, they didn't close the year, or there is a problem with close the year.
Okay, thank you. Jason is asking, can we have more than one fiscal year calendar on one legal entity from India, gap, and use gap points of and US gap points of use?
You can create in your legal entity as entries, as record, many fiscal calendar. But when you select the ledger, you can select fiscal year, one fiscal year. Okay, because the system, when they want to consider the closing, okay, you cannot have two fiscal calendar. You can have two. You can have different periods. So you have to think about how to define your periods. You can have let's say period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 12. And put fiscal year 1, let's say, and you can set another type of it, but you cannot have two fiscal year for the same legal entity. It will have a problem with the system, the structure of the system. It's done for each legal entity. They have a fiscal year that is considered when they close, when they calculate the impact of the year. So we cannot.
Okay, final question. So Joel is asking, similar to the P&L, is there any way to choose which balance sheet to roll forward to the opening balance, or is it an all or nothing?
It's an important question. I think Microsoft, they will be working on that. For profit and loss, they allow you to select which dimension to decide to, because when you calculate return earning, and for balance sheet, you either want to close by dimension or not. So this is something, but I think there is some workaround for that. You can work on it on the accounting rules and then certain workaround. But as part of the process, when you run the close, you can either take it or leave it.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. And look, we're
Thank you.
perfectly, and as
I'm
you
really happy.
promised, we would be
Yeah.
perfectly ending on time at the end of the hour. So really thank you, much appreciated, Mohammed. Mohammed,
Thank
look,
you,
you do
Raz.
some fantastic work with your training and everything. So please share your contact details in the chat,
I will. I'm
and
ready
so that
to
the
answer any
community can
question.
keep
If you have any
improving.
question that I didn't answer, you can forward to me. I will put my email. And again, I would like to thank you much, Raz, because I really make a headache for you last night. And thank you for Ramit also for taking this. I really appreciate what you have done. Thank you for all the attendees here.
Excellent. Not at all, Mohammed. It was a great pleasure to have you. So please don't forget to share your contact details in the chat. Fantastic. Thank you once again, Mohammed, joining us all the way from Lebanon. Okay, well, we're perfect.